Business Cruz. I'm the CISO of Holden Barrett, and I'm going to walk you through our current head of incident response role that we have published, and we are open for applications. This is where you can find it. It's published in our main website, and fundamentally it looks like this. So let's look at the first paragraph, which is the big overview of the JD. So fundamentally, this person will report to me, and it's a senior executive in a private organization. And fundamentally, it's going to be responsible for creating a collaboration environment between HMB Security and all impacted business and engineering teams. And the word collaboration is very important, because the best way to handle incidents, the best way to leverage incidents, and to really make sure that they're properly handled is to really create an insane collaboration environment in a period of high, potentially stressed situation, but also highly focused situation where we need to make sure we make a lot of decisions and we really make a big difference in a short period of time. And fundamentally, you do this by working together in effective incident detection, response, recovery, identification, and protection. Now, for the eagle-eyed view, you've noticed that this is actually this framework which we follow, which talks about the idea of, detect, respond, recover, identify, protect, and create a very nice feedback loop around it. The other key part here is stakeholder management and clear thinking under pressure are fundamental requirements here, together with a strong passion for cybersecurity. And I'm going to expand a bit on this, but I feel it's super important to have a really great passion for cybersecurity, and fundamentally its ability to make a real difference in protecting customers, partners, and employees. And the final thing that's really interesting, what we're trying to do is that although absolutely, there's space for individuals applying for this who have cybersecurity incident response experience, we actually are looking for candidates who don't have that, and I'll expand that in a minute. But it's very important that although you have a lot of experience and a lot of management experience, and you've been in the industry for quite a while, but you have not have specific cybersecurity experience, you can still be a very valid candidate. So keep seeing it, because this might be for you. So what are the key attitudes and experience that are relevant for this job? And again, important, not all of these are needed, right? So, it's very important that it's not like, if you don't match some of these, still apply, right? So, very strong program manager. And this is program project manager. And this is fundamental because everything we do is a project. In fact, an incident is just a project in a very small time period. So feel that the ability of thinking in projects and thinking of that everything is a project, beginning, middle, and ending is well defined, work in sprints, have a really good understanding of how to delegate, how to organize, how to create something that is insanely structured and efficient is absolutely critical for this. And this is where it gets interesting, because when I say you don't need to have cybersecurity experience, where you really want to shine is crisis management. And I actually even understand the idea that, a lot of what we do is actually having a lot of incidents, because incidents in a way are good, especially the more we lower the threshold of what an incident is. But the key point is make sure that incidents don't become crisis. And this is something that I don't think a lot of people get, but I find it's insanely powerful, which is this idea by these insights that you should be leverage incidents as an opportunity to drive innovation, situation awareness, and fixes. So one of the things kind of I always do in my teams is we sometimes take a P2 and we have as a P1, i.e. we take what would be a medium-sized incident and run it as a major incident, because what it means that we're practicing how to handle major incidents. But also we use incidents to fix things. We use incidents to find, in a way, all sorts of weak signals that we should be looking at, and also understanding what are the key questions that we're doing, and finally to really drive innovation and create playbooks on top of it. So you kind of have to have this passion for incident response investigation. It's not a cup of tea for everybody, but for the right individuals, and I've met a number of them, there's this passion for investigation, for going down to the details, really understanding what's going on, which is very important. And also, especially in technology and engineering, you have to have a passion for automation, for delegation, for scalability, for creating playbooks, for really creating highly effective processes. Because that's how we scale. We don't scale by building a massive security team that has a huge amount of people to handle every incident. You handle by almost delegating a lot of those responsibilities to the first responders in the business, which could be the NOC team, could be the developers, could be SREs, could be engineers, could be managers. We want to create playbooks that allow, in a way, non-experts to follow up and to really get a good understanding, so we can keep raising the volume of what we call an incident, so we really start to pick up those weak signals, which identify sometimes a lot of real problems. And this is all about automating processes and workflows so we can detect, contain, and eliminate as fast as possible what's happening in our network. I'm sort of like with this concept where you kind of want to be a detective at heart, which kind of connects to that incident response investigation. You want to love the idea of finding the puzzle, finding the thing, finding that little clue that leads to it, and keep investigating until you really go. It's like a dog on a bone, right? That's kind of what you want to see. And you have to have a passion for creating teams that are highly motivated, focused, productive. And this is very important with a strong work-life balance. It's insanely dangerous for a security team, an incident response team, to be running at 100% all the time. You need a team that has another level. So it's very important that the team has a great sense of work-life balance, so that when something happens, you're there. But more importantly, you make bad decisions when you don't have a work-life balance. So I encourage my teams to have a work-life balance, think what it means. I don't care if you turn up at 11 after being working late, like for me, it's you were working enough hours during the week to justify. We trust you for that. You should be managing that. We give you a lot of flexibility, especially now with the work from home. It's about making sure that you and your team are highly effective in the best way that matches their mindset and how they want to operate. So we highly encourage that. And we want, this kind of attitude here is, you sort of kind of want to be a settler, because you should know how to take innovation and productize it. Now, settler, Worley Maps, what's that? So there's a link there. And I would say that Worley Maps is the thing that I've learned in the last couple of years that completely changed my mind. It's, I think I was already into a lot of those concepts, but Simon Worley, who created Worley Maps, just mapped it out brilliantly, and it has a huge amount of levels. So it just keeps getting better the more you get into it. So what we mean by being a settler, Worley Maps looks like this. You got a value chain. It's fundamentally this evolution from Genesis, custom build, product, and commodities, or the evolution of things. This is a very simple Worley map about one of the first ones I think Simon did, but you look at his map and going, whoa, why we have a data center? Why have compute? All of that has been commoditized. So it's very powerful, and this is a really cool view that talks about the difference between pioneers, settlers, and town planners, which is roughly match the Genesis, custom build, product, and commodity. And it's all about what is happening at each of the levels. And fundamentally, this role, kind of my thinking is, it's really a settler role where you're really continuing improving, you're making a lot of stuff. You're not doing insane innovation where failure is just exposed to happen, because we're dealing with serious and there's a lot of impact of what you might happen during an incident. So settler, I think, is a great description for this. So highly encouraged, go deep into Worley Maps because it's awesome. Now, what are the areas of responsibility? And take into account that this is supported by an experienced team that exists. We're using sort of best-in-class technology and highly qualified third parties that we already got involved. So there's a lot of support from even a cybersecurity point of view on this role. So stressing that's key, that there's a lot of support for the person joining this role. So the areas of responsibility, which fundamentally is what areas this role has responsibility for. Sorry, that's pretty obvious, right? So it's this response, right? So being proactive, managing it, building this great ability to manage this response. A lot of it's about playbooks, and playbooks are very clear descriptions of what happens, what's the sequence of events, etc. And then we need to be driving the automation of the creation, but also the execution of those playbooks and how it operates. Stakeholder management is absolutely critical. You'll be involved with all sorts of individuals from across organization, and security has this cool thing that we are one of the few departments in the business that can talk to everybody. So we can and need to create relationships with every single person in the organization throughout sort of a chain of responsibilities. And stakeholder management, all the RASI tables, all that stuff is absolutely critical for this role. Project management collaboration, I talked about this before. Project management is absolutely critical for the execution of this and the collaboration with internal, not just the incident response team, but also with the wider security team, but also with the rest of the business. One of your responsibilities is make sure that we have maximum visibility across the organization in terms of incidents, and our SIEM, which is secure information event management, and everything that goes around it. These days these words mean a lot of things, but fundamentally it's our pane of glass. Our ability to understand what's happening, get all the events, and trigger stuff from it, and really get into situational awareness and graphs and maps. That's very dear to my heart. But you need to be thinking in graphs and eventually into maps, because that's a great way to have situation awareness, to make good decisions, etc. We have an operations center that we have and we're extending, so you're going to be responsible for that. And also, this is the new, funky term about, secure orchestration, automation, and response. So this is the whole sort of next level of technology that talk about playbooks and automations and stuff like that. So this is your main areas, and fundamentally, threat hunting. This is where we proactive also look for what's happening in our environment, try to find malicious actors, and really deal with them very, very proactively. So this is the areas of responsibility. And note that we didn't put a jargon sort of rich list of stuff that, I think is common on here. So I hope you appreciate that we're trying to make this, very, very, inclusive to attract, as much of a diverse team as possible. So so we are looking for individuals that want to work for this type of environment. And I would say my advice to anybody is that when you work for a company, you want to pick 3 things that you really want to make sure is there. The first one is you want to make sure that you work for a company that you really believe in. And in this case, a company that's making a positive impact in the world. And ultimately, what's amazing about Holland & Barrett is that we're making the world healthier. The whole mission from the CEO downwards is about, how can we drive wellness? How can we drive health? How do we make customers make good decisions about their health? And that's really cool, right? Because not only could we be making the world safer, we're making actually healthier. Finally, the second point is that you also want to make a company where you're going to make a big difference. And part of this is that HMB is going through a massive digital transformation. So you can work for massive companies, but you're kind of almost a small cog in a big thing, and there's not a lot of impact. In here, you will have a massive impact. So you kind of want to work for a company that, in this case, taking digital transformation really seriously, and you can make a massive difference in there. And finally, work for a security team that has a great project that's growing, innovating, and that, I think we completely match that. So again, if you want to be challenged, this is the place for you to be. Some of the attributes we're looking for in you is you should be looking for your next challenge. You should be curious. You should be looking for things outside the box. You should be highly motivated, highly effective manager, highly pressure teams. It's just to reinforce again, you should be build and nurture sort of amazing teams, a part of your team, and you really want to make a difference. You want to build something worthwhile, and you want to make the world safer, which is what we do. Right? We protect our customers, we protect our colleagues, we protect our partners. Ultimately, we make the world a little bit safer, which is really cool, right? It's a great reason to wake up in the morning. So, how do you apply? So we ask you to send 2 things. One is a presentation about yourself, because CVs suck, and I really don't want us to be making decisions about CVs, because there's all sorts of reasons why CVs are not very good at this level. But also fundamentally, I want to start seeing how you think. I want to see about, what is your way of actually presenting information, because again, stakeholder management is very important, and a presentation is a great way of doing that. And by the way, this is not a design contest, so I'll do a couple more videos where I expand on the concept of the presentations, but this is not about design. It's about communication, it's about transparency, it's about openness. And also, I kind of call this a strictly condensing experience, right? So we want to leave you better. We want to, the same way that strictly condensing, everybody goes there, gets a better dancer. The way I look at it is that if every candidate applies, we make them a little better, we give them better materials, that's already a great success story. And we build great bridges for the future. So that's what we want you to submit, and then we're making that first decision of the follow-up based already on that submission, which I think is a much more fairer way of doing that. So if you're interested, apply here. And then, thanks for your time and share with your network.